So if you own a detailing business and you need to close more customers over the phone, this is for you. And this is an actual consult call that I did with a detailer, and I'm giving you the inside look.
Since we last spoke, things have changed for the better, thank God. I've been getting slammed, getting a lot of work. I got my Google page back up and running. I started this business back 4 years ago, as you're aware of. It's actually 4 years last month, and every year it got a little better, a little better, a little better. But now I'm to the point where I'm getting more busy, and it's getting a lot to be for just myself. I'm a one-man army. I book, I sell, I do the work. It's just getting crazy for me to do everything by myself. So I got to start looking to hire people. I also want to discuss some matters about scheduling online. I see Instagram, all these social networks where you could book without you even calling or talking to me. I also wanted to bring to your attention, when somebody calls me and they say, how much for this car? I like to tell them, well, we like to come out and have an assessment of the vehicle because, one, it gives me an opportunity to come and meet the customer up and close and personal. It gives me the opportunity to upsell to different kinds of services that we offer that they're not aware of that we offer. And then I can see the actual condition the car is under, so I don't under or overcharge for the job because, of course, every car is different condition. So it's hard to just give me a standard price list and a price sheet on the services that I offer.
Yeah, let's start with the easiest stuff and then we'll work back to the harder stuff.
Yep.
And by harder, I don't mean actually hard, but more technical. So let's start with the last thing you said, which is I like to go in person to give an estimate. Have you noticed that, yes, it is true that all cars are different in some sense, in that they vary in their condition in terms of how dirty or how clean. But let me think about a good analogy to use for this. All yards are different and they have different grass. Maybe some is more dead, some is more alive. Maybe some yards have more trees. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that matters in terms of pricing for lawn care is the size of the yard. Would you agree?
Yep. Agree.
Okay. So the size is the big domino. And it's because, yes, let's take 2 yards that are both 1 acre. They're both an acre. One has a few more trees. The other one's grass is a little more dead. But no matter what, in terms of those smaller variables, I'm going to end up spending around the same amount of time on both of these yards, despite the trees and the kind of lesser variables, because they're both an acre. Which means, with enough experience as a lawn care provider, I can listen to the size of your yard and I can already have a box of a price point. Maybe not exact, but I can have a box, a price anchor that I already know I'm going to go to. With the exception of the extremes, like they're both an acre, but this one has a massive creek and 3 ditches and 25 trees. That is an extreme version of the acre yard. It's not representative of most, but I can ask 1 or 2 additional questions in addition to the size that will tell me if it's an extreme case or not. Like, do you have any trees? Do you have any creeks? If I get an answer to those questions, then I know if it's an extreme case or not. What I'm trying to illustrate to you, and I'm being overly complicated about it, you have an extreme version of an interior detail. Let's just take a Toyota Camry. You have an extreme version and it's terrible, terrible, terrible. In which case, you have a massive problem if you do undercharge. However, every other detail that is not that, which is like 90% of your details, which fall under the average condition, you're going to finish them no matter if the carpet's a little dirtier or the seat's a little dirtier, or if it sits outside or doesn't sit outside, or if it's 80,000 miles versus 65,000 miles, you're going to finish them within 2.5 hours, whatever it is that your time frame is. And it's not going to vary super widely. So there's this big myth in the detailing industry, which is all cars are different conditions. Therefore, I cannot price without standing in front of the car. The problem is what you're experiencing, which is consumers do not behave that way. They want a price today. So you have to figure out how to solve your problem, which is I don't want to turn the lead away because it's a waste. But secondly, I don't want to undercharge. So here's how you fix this problem. When people call you and they say, hey, Daniel, what do you charge?
How much is a
What
detail?
most, yeah, how much
That's
is
a
a detail?
question. How much you charge for a detail?
Yep. What most detailers hear is they think the person is asking for an exact price right that second. That is not what that person is asking. What they're asking for is a price anchor. They're trying to figure out, are you going to charge me $5,000, $1,000, $200? They're not trying to figure out exactly what it's going to cost. They don't have to have that information in order to move forward in the conversation. They need an anchor so they can figure out about where you're at so that they can either say, oh, yeah, that was what I was expecting, or they can object. So
Mm-hmm.
here's what the conversation sounds like. I'll be you be the customer.
Hey,
Okay.
how's it going? How much you charge for a detail? I got a
Oh,
I got a
yeah.
Nissan Maxima.
Oh, you got a Nissan Maxima? Well, thanks for calling, Daniel. First of all, are you looking for a complete detail, inside, outside, the whole thing?
Yes, sir.
All right, so for a Nissan Maxima, we start at 219. But can I ask you just a quick question, about 2 minutes of questions that we ask all of our new customers, just so I can get a better idea of exactly what condition the car's in, so that I can give you the most accurate price I can over the phone?
Oof.
Because you can't say no to me now, because I just answered your question, which is our prices start at
Mm-hmm.
219 for this size of a vehicle. I just gave you the size price, right? My prices for Nissan Maxima start here. That's why I brought up the lawn care scenario, because I can
Like my lowest
immediately,
service is 150. So I usually say my lowest service start at 150.
yeah. But that's not, but even that is going to shoot you in the foot, because if you're giving them my lowest service starts at 150, now you've set yourself up where no matter where the conversation goes, you can only increase price from there. So you price anchor them down here at 150. And depending on how the conversation goes, you're going to go up. So
Mm-hmm.
what I just did is say, hey, based on your size vehicle, I'm doing what lawn care providers do. Based on your size vehicle, we charge a starting price of 219. But since you're new, we like to ask all of our new customers just a quick couple questions. It takes like 2 minutes. It'll give me a better idea of exactly what condition your vehicle is in, so I can give you the most accurate price over the phone. So listen to why that's so important. Number one, I answered your question, which is this is what I charge. But I told you that it was a starting price, which gives me the liberty to change it later in the conversation. My prices
Mm-hmm.
start at here. The other thing that happens when I give you that price anchor is you can now actually have a conversation with me. If I tell you, well, actually, I'll do what most detailers do. So you can be the customer again. Hey, this is Luke. What's up?
Hey, I want to see how much you charge for a Nissan Maxima full detail.
Hmm. A Nissan Maximum full detail. Okay. Like, you want like the carpets shampooed and stuff too?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so well, where do you live?
Mm. Nyack, New
Oh,
York.
that's oh
10
man,
minutes
that's
away.
okay, that's about 15 minutes from me. So here's the deal. I can't give you a price until I chat with you in person, just because I want to make sure I see what the condition of the car is in. Are you like, do you have free time tomorrow or something?
Yeah,
Like this is a nightmare.
yeah. That's what I
If you're
usually do. That's what I
if
do.
you're the think about it. Think about it from the customer's perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
I just called you. My entire expectation is that
Yep.
I can just get a quick answer.
It's gone.
And you're
Yeah,
it's gone, dude. They're
yeah.
gone. We have to answer the question immediately. So that's what's happening. Hey, my prices start at 219. Can I ask you though a couple questions that we ask to all of our new customers? Take about 2 minutes just so I can get an accurate understanding of the condition of your car right now, because I want to give you the most accurate price over the phone. So let me walk through the structure of that sentence. You have to give them a starting price. That gives them a price anchor. What that tells them is not exactly what you're going to charge them, but what it tells them is around where your prices are, and it gives them the permission to continue having a conversation with you, because now they're grounded in something, rather than having a conversation with you and having no idea if you're going to throw out a number like $900 or $100. They don't know. So they're trying to box it in somehow in order to say, okay, I get kind of where you're at. The next part of that phrase sounds like this. So I say, we charge a starting price, Nissan Maxima, we start a charging price of 219, but I like to ask all of our new customers just a couple quick questions, takes about 2 minutes. Immediately, I gave them a price and there was no silence, so they can't object to it. Okay? That means I give the customer no room to object to my price over the phone in the first half of the conversation. They can object to it later, but they're not allowed to object to it in the first half. I
Hear me out
immediately,
first. Hear me
yeah,
out.
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm because I say it'll take 2 minutes. I say that on purpose. A couple quick questions, it'll take about 2 minutes. It doesn't allow the person to say no because I'm telling them it's going to be really fast. If all you say is, hey, I've got a question list that I'd like to run through with you, is that okay? People are now having to decide how much time they want to spend with you. I don't
Yeah.
want them to have to decide that.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they should have to. Okay.
Yep.
The last half goes like this. I want to make sure that I have an accurate understanding of the condition of your car so that I can give you the most accurate quote possible over the phone.
Got
Why
it.
does that matter?
Got it.
First of all, they need a price, so I give it to them. Second of all, I need to ask them a couple questions, just like a lawn care service provider. I need to know how many trees are in the yard. I need to know if there's any creeks, okay? Because to your point, I got to figure out how to make sure I don't undercharge. So I'll explain that in just a second. So first, I got to give them a price so they can say, okay, I'm going to keep talking to this person.
With
Secondly,
the 219 that you gave
that's
him.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
Secondly, I have to tell them I'm going to ask them a few questions and it's going to be really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And thirdly, I have to tell them why I'm asking the questions.
Mm-hmm.
People need to know why if you ask something of them. So if
Got
I
it.
say, will you leave me a review? And I just ask for a review, you will not leave me a review. But if
Mm-hmm.
I ask you to leave me a review and then I say, because Daniel, right now we're focusing a lot on our Google business profile and we're building up our reviews because it's the easiest way for new customers in our area to find us just like you did. Is that something you're willing to do?
Mm-hmm.
Now people have a reason. So they call it reason respecting bias, but it means if you're going to ask people to do something, you have to tell them why. So I'm asking them to answer questions. I have to tell them why, because it'll give me the ability to give you the most accurate quote over the phone, which, by the way, is the reason they called me in the first place. So they can't say no
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, this is why you're here. This is what I need to do in order to get you what you want. It'll take 2 minutes. Let's
Yep.
go. That's what an intro call sounds like. Here's the four big questions that matter most if you're only going to ask for four. Okay. And I actually have a 10 question list that I'll send you. But the first question is year, make, and model. You should already have that. So we can pretend like that's not even a question. So I want to know the year of the car. Because if it's a 2003 versus a 2023, that's a big difference. So I'm asking these questions in order of how important they are. I need to know the year. Okay. If it's a 2015, it's a 10-year-old car now. A car that's 10 years old has a lot of stains that are not going to come out. It's got damage on the leather arm of the driver's seat because they've been putting their arm there for 10 years. The steering wheel's kind of rubbed down. The leather's worn, especially on the driver's seat. The door jambs are normally, they've got some chips or they're stained, especially if it's a white car. Like, you know, all these things, right? There's tons of things that are just normal wear and tear that now I know because I have an answer to that question. What year is it? My second question is,
How many miles?
um, how many miles? Yes, because there's a massive difference between a car with 300,000 miles and a car with 30,000 miles.
100%.
A car with 10,000 miles tells me so much. I'm like,
100.
this is going to be easy.
Yep.
Perfect. Now I have my easy box open. Second, so it's year and mileage. Third question, pet hair, sand, or kids? And they say, no, 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 but I do have kids. I'm going to say, how old are they? And if she says, well, that's too personal, I'm going to say, oh, well, I was just asking because we do some complimentary car seat cleaning when we see that there. Like, whatever. I'm just going to justify it. My point is, I want to know how old the kids are. Because if they're 3 years old and there's 6 car seats back there,
They're messing them up.
that tells me a lot.
Definitely.
So I know if there's 3 kids in the back, not only is there going to be goldfish and stuff all in the carpet, but also on the back of the leather seats, there's going to be a bunch of shoe prints and a bunch of
Yeah.
scuffs
Yeah.
because they're kicking it all day long. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
100%.
So when you detail 1,000 cars, you start picking up on stuff like this, right?
100%.
All
100%.
right. My fourth question is it garage kept or is it kept outside?
Mm-hmm.
That is the last question that if I could only ask 4 questions, that is what I would ask because If it's 100,000 miles and it's 2015 and it's kept only outside, that tells me a lot
Hmm.
about what the outside is like and what
So,
the inside is like because it's constantly getting hit by the sun and it's in the elements. But a 10-year-old car that's got 150,000 that has kids, but it's always kept in a garage when it's parked at night and during the day, unless it's being driven, big difference. There's a big difference over 10 years of a car that's kept in a garage and a car that's not kept in a garage. So those are my 4 or 5 questions. Okay. The other questions, by the way, are interior color, exterior color. Does it have weather mats or is it only carpet? Leather or upholstery? Any specific stains, scratches, or major spills that I need to be aware of? And then my very last question, which is the only open-ended question, is there any special request you have or anything specific that you want to tell me? The reason I learned that that question can be helpful is because often people actually have a very specific reason that they called you as a detailer, but because you took control of the conversation, which is exactly what you should have done, and you ask all of those questions, they're not thinking about the reason that they originally called you. They're thinking about the answers to your questions. So you answer all the questions and then you get there and you realize, oh, wait a second, there's no driver's side door on this car.
hmm
What the heck? You're
hmm
like, it's missing a door. And she was like, oh, yeah, well, that's why I called you. Cause like I'm missing the door and it rained yesterday and it's wet. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, well, why
that's
didn't you tell me that? And she's like,
yeah.
well, I don't know. And you're like, oh, okay. So sometimes it can be helpful to have that very last question just be open ended. Is there anything specific or special request that you have? Because it triggers in them what you did not allow earlier in the conversation, which is for them to speak open endedly. And you don't
100.
want that to happen early. You want it to happen later. So that's a very helpful question. This is
Yep.
called the transition in the conversation. So what's
Yep.
happened so far? I've given you a starting price. I told
Yep.
you I needed to ask you questions to give you an
Yep.
accurate quote. I've
Yep.
asked you the questions.
But yep.
Now, what is the customer expecting? The price.
And the closing. Yeah.
And frankly, a new price is what they're
Yeah.
expecting because that's the way
Yeah.
I set up the conversation. So
Yes.
here's what the segue sounds like. Hey Daniel, thanks so much for walking through those questions with me. Based on the answers to those questions, you're looking at a minimum price of X. And because we're mobile detailers, we found it's best we always give ourselves a $30 wiggle room range. So your price range for a full detail is X minimum, X maximum. Does that work for you? Your price range is going to vary based on how confident you are about your judgment of the
Mm.
condition of the car. So if
Yes.
it's a nightmare
Yes.
van with
Yes.
6 kids,
Yep.
I would give myself a $50 wiggle room range. Okay. And you can communicate that like, listen, the best sales is just honesty.
Of course.
That's the best sales.
I
It's just
agree.
it's just conviction about why you do things the way you do it, and you can give a simple explanation. So the explanation is this: Hey Mary, based on I like to be kind of funny about it too because people love humor. So I'm like talking to Mary, who has a nasty interior and exterior Honda Odyssey. I'm like, hey, Mary, sounds like we're really going to have to pull out the big guns to restore this thing to the highest level of perfection that's possible. Look, I'm looking forward to do it. I love the crazy before and after photos that we're going to get from this. But based on your answer to those questions, in order for us to do what we know we can do and what I know you want, you're going to be looking at a price range minimum of 375 and a maximum of 425. You're not going to pay any less and you're not going to pay any more. The reason I always give a $50 wiggle room range in situations like this is just because I want to make sure that both myself and you are protected and you can get exactly what you want. And this is how I can make sure you get that range exactly over the phone so I don't show up and have to tack on an extra $100 that you weren't expecting. Does that make sense, Mary? Let's just recap where we are in the conversation. Price anchor on the front end, starting price. Can I ask you some questions? Here's why I need to do that. We ask the questions
Mhm.
based on the condition of your car and the answers to your questions. We're going to give you a minimum maximum price range. Does
Yep.
that work for you?
Yep.
That whole thing, if you just do that, even if you suck at sales,
Mhm.
that will increase your conversion rate just right off the bat. But now you've entered into the point of the conversation where they are free to object to the price. You want to know how I would handle the price objections?
Was saying like, oh wait, that's a little too expensive.
Okay, right. So we can walk through some of that if you like. But that, just to pause for a second, that's really powerful because it gives you the opportunity
To know
every single time.
and to know where they're at in their head, the price that they're at.
Okay, so the best sales, the best sales, yes, it's conviction, it's telling the truth, but people who are really skilled at sales are able to just anticipate what you're going to say before you say it.
Mhm.
And they're actually creating the opportunities in the conversation for you to say certain things that they already know that you're going to say. The reason people don't get left reviews is because the detailer only brings it up after the job is done.
100% completed. That's what I
And
did.
so what we say, like what I would say is if there's no before, there's no after. What I
Got
mean by that is you have to tell people on the front end that you're going to ask for a review and you have to tell them why, and you need them to verbally agree to do it. So when you follow up after the job is done and you send them the link or you tap your NFC tag in person to have them leave you a review, it's not the first time they're hearing about it. They've already committed to doing it. And it's not an inconvenience that's just after the fact.
The only reason why I don't like that is because look, we all been through scenarios where accidents happen, where one of your employees does something wrong, burns the paint, breaks a chair, something happens sometimes, and then
Yep.
now it's offered to give you a review, and they
Yep.
remember that, and that's the first place they go to because negative spreads faster than positivity, of course. So they'll go right
Right.
on your review and leave that negative report. Oh, he did his detail and he came and broke my window. God forbid. But I'm just,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
So wait. That's the exception. And I'll break it down in a second. That's the exception. In other words, it normally doesn't happen. So don't
Mhm.
build rules off of the exception. Because
Something
by
that doesn't.
definition, exceptions are exceptions, which means they're
Yes.
exceptions to the rule, which means that
Yeah.
if you build rules around the exception, you're going to optimize for the thing that basically never happens and you're going to
Mm,
miss the thing that
good point.
almost always happens. And
Good point.
over the long term, that logic doesn't work. So
Got it.
we'll talk about
Damn.
the price objection
I didn't
thing
even
and then we can
realize that.
do
Go
the
ahead.
technical stuff. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll pretend like I'm the detailer and uh you can pretend like you're the customer. Do your price objection thing that you normally
Yeah.
get. Hey, Daniel, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll start it. Hey Daniel, yeah, you're looking at a price between 275 and 425 for a full detail. Is that something that works for you?
Oh man, that's kind of expensive. A little bit more than I was looking to spend.
Oh, okay. What were you looking to spend?
Maybe $150.
Okay. Is that something you've paid for in the past and got it done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When was that?
Maybe 2 years ago.
Okay. Do you remember what was included in that?
Basic wash, spray wax, vacuum inside. Spot check on the interior, windows, jams.
Oh, Oh, okay. So you're actually not looking for a total redo makeover. I thought we were looking to raise the car to the highest level of perfection that was within the realm of possibility. I have no problem with having a different conversation about just a basic interior wash and wax. Now, granted, it's not going to fix any of the stains or some of the things you were highlighting on the front end, and honestly, that's my misinterpretation, so I apologize. Do you want to talk about just a much more basic detail where we actually remove services and therefore just bring the price down to what it looks like you're or what it sounds like you're looking to spend? So just
Yeah,
pause
that's
for a second.
yeah, yep, yep.
What
I see.
what
It. I
just
did.
yeah. So what just happened, and this is the whole anticipating thing. Like I've had this conversation 10,000 times. So what normally happens is a customer objects to the price.
Yep,
They're like, that's too expensive. And the detailer is then put on defense.
yep,
Okay. Anytime, anytime, 100% of the time that you are trying to close somebody and you are on the defense, you will lose
yep,
100% of the time. There are no exceptions. Okay. You will always lose because you're reacting to whatever they're saying literally in the moment.
yeah. Your
Okay.
emotions get involved.
What I want to know, and this is just a general rule of thumb, but like generally speaking, in any sort of conversation, the person who asks the most questions also holds the most power. So have you ever been around somebody who like gives advice when they're not even like asked for advice?
Hmm.
They're just like always inserting themselves.
Hmm.
There's something about that where like the person gives away a lot of power because
Hmm.
we all sort of look at people like that as like kind of like
Weird.
kids
Like
where we're
weird.
like oh that's cute, you know,
Yeah.
he thinks like he clearly needs to be heard, right? That's what's happening in like the sales process is you're like that's too expensive. Most detailers immediately they're on their back foot and they're like, well, I mean like you know, we're not the cheapest people, but like we do a great job. And they're like trying to defend their service. And what happened between you and I is like you were like that's too expensive. And I was like, "Oh, tell me more about that. What were you looking to spend?" Because
Hmm.
think about this for a second. If you say that's too expensive and I respond to that, we are actually having a conversation about nothing. There's no concrete thing in the real world right here that I can point to that you said that's too expensive. You're just saying arbitrarily the number 400, that's too expensive. So, what I want to get at is what it is that you want. So then we can talk about something material. So, why did I ask, have you had this done before? Have you paid for it before? Because it brings your comment into the world of physical reality where I can go, oh, you paid $150 before. What did you pay for? Well, I paid for a basic wash and wax and a vacuum. Oh, is that what you're looking for?
Because the conversation we had previously, I was offering you way more services, such as steam cleaning, leather conditioning, paint
Okay.
correction. Yeah.
So now I call this heads I win, tails you lose. You win either way. Number one, what happens to most people is they say what you said, which is it was like a basic wash and wax and a vacuum. And then I get to say, oh, I was under the impression you wanted a real detail.
Detail. Yeah.
And now the other person has to basically say what they don't want to say, which is, yeah, I want a less good service,
Hmm.
which they don't. They
No,
don't
they
want
want it
that.
all for the same price.
They want it all.
Yeah.
But if all we're talking about is a number, it's like, that's too expensive. That's not expensive enough. That's too expensive. It's all arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to ask questions because if you say that's too expensive, I need to know what you're objecting to.
100%.
Because if I said to you, hey, that Ferrari in the parking lot, that's going to cost you somewhere between $375 and $425. What do you say, Daniel? No, I mean like to buy the Ferrari,
Oh,
the whole
that's
thing.
crazy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you would say
What's the
that's
catch?
yeah, that's right. You're like that's really not expensive. It's like right
Yeah.
because price is like very arbitrary, and what that like tells me is like price has to be a function of something in the material world, and
Yeah.
if it's not, then there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
So if you see what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
now I just said that Ferrari cost $400, and now we're having a totally different conversation, which is,
Yeah.
well, that's really cheap.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
but that only happens if we actually bring the price into something material. So that's very important, especially in a service-based industry. It's very important to do that because services can be very immaterial. So we need to bring them down into something material. So let me explain to you the heads I win, tails you lose. The heads I win, tails you lose. The reason why this works is because now you said I got a $150 detail and it was this basic wash and wax. Heads I win, tails you lose. Oh, I didn't know that's all you wanted. I'm sorry, I was quoting you for the works, to do what we call restoring your car's condition to the highest level of perfection that's possible.
Yep.
It sounds like oh, that's my mistake. I misunderstood you. You want
Hmm.
something else.
Yep.
Now they have to tell me they don't want that. Okay, in which case I win because they do want that. So they're going to respond and go, well, no, I mean, I do. That is what I'm looking for. Yes, yes. And now we get to say, oh, okay, well, can I line item out just a few of the services that are included here that I think will simply kind of distinguish what you got before and what you're getting here, and potentially some of the different, why there's a difference in the price. And now we get to have a conversation about the services. Again, we're not talking about price. Just back to services, back to what you want.
Yep.
Okay. The other thing that can happen, which is the only other thing that happens, is they say, yeah, you're right. I don't want that. I'm just looking for this basic thing.
Yep.
Now you win a second time. Why?
Yep.
Because you get to work down the price and
Yep.
remove
And give
services.
what they want. And still give them what they want.
Which makes your sales process even easier because you price anchored them here. They get to deny you and say, oh, no. But remember, it's not that they're saying that's not the price I want. I've reframed it. And now they have to say that's not the service I want. And you say, oh, great. Well, let's remove this and this, and this. Here's the service you want. This, by the way, I need to be clear. Like, I don't like giving advice. So I really have, like, I don't do that. That's why I started autodetailer.com, is because I hate like the guru model stuff where like people think there's some person out there who's going to like solve all their problems. And it's like, go teach me everything. So that's why I don't do online programs and stuff like that anymore. Cause it's like, it's so in that world. And so I started autodetailer.com as a membership of other really qualified detailers, right? That you're in. The reason I did that is because I wanted other people to be able to like say what they do and why they do it that way, to learn from a lot of people.
Yeah. And solve problems.
That's a much more effective way to learn at the end of the day. People in the online social media industry for a long time, because I've been in this world for a long time. Like, we've been making content on YouTube for 9 years.
Yeah.
That's
I've been following for about 5 years.
Yeah. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So nobody does anything for 9 years if they're faking it.
100%.
It's not possible. It's just, you just get found out, right?
100%.
And so the other thing that's happened is social media has shifted dramatically in the last few years of the people who are actually doing what they're saying they're doing, and they're doing it really well, rise to the top. And you have a bunch of other people who are like trying to sell an online course, and they're like, hey, pay me $1,000 for this online course. Whereas we just give all of that stuff away completely free. And it's just like literally stuff that we used to charge for.
Yeah.
We used to make people pay for stuff, and now we're just like, just take it for free. Because what you actually need is not an online course. You need more than that. That's why we're bringing people under our brand now, is because if I bring a business under my brand, autodetailer.com, and we acquire you, or we franchise you and you become franchisee number 10, well, then I can make the business economics work so that I can justify building your business. Like, I can say, hey, we're going to build your business to like for the next 3 years.
Because it's in your best interest. It's in your interest.
Because now I'm being paid for the next 10 years because you're going to grow.
Interest, of course.
Yeah, but the beauty is, like, I'm being paid because your business is growing, not because I'm selling you information that like may or may not.
We're both meeting our goals. I get it.
All right, guys, hopefully this was valuable. If you made it this far, you probably already own a detailing business. And if that's the case, go below to autodetailer.com, click join, and you can join our network. It's totally free of detailers who have proven revenue in order to get into the membership. So you can't pay to get in. You can't just be cool and get in. You got to be cool. You got to make sure that you have revenue, and you got to be a detailer who is willing to work with and collaborate with other people. It's a really, really awesome network of pro detailers where you can just get straight up information from other operators who are doing the real work, and they can show you exactly what's working. And from Luke here at autodetailer.com, I will see you guys in the next video.